Teaching manners to young kids, it can be challenging, but it's super important. Today, I'm going to share with you various resources that our family has used in our journey to train our kids to be well-mannered, polite, and friendly. Hey there, friend. I'm a mama to four kids. One is on the way, and the others are ages 5, 4, and 1.5. And we love to gather resources for teaching our children various skills, character, and I want to share with you today some that we particularly like or have used for teaching manners. Excuse my voice, I'm not feeling the best today, but I did want to share this with you guys. Some of these books are things that will be more appropriate for younger ages, and we have a span all the way up to older elementary. I think that this is like the key age range for introducing concepts of manners, though it is a lifelong process of actually cultivating good manners in our lives and our kids' lives. So let me start with one of the youngest resources that we have, and this is one that my boys have begged me to read with them. So I think it's enjoyable. It is a series. I have mentioned this before on my channel, but these books are by Sherry J. Miners. This series doesn't just cover the basic polite skills, but it also covers confidence and social awareness. I'm going to show you inside of all of these books that I mentioned. So here's a peek inside of this series. The books in this series include things and topics such as respecting and taking care of things, accepting and valuing each person, so being friendly with anyone, cooling down and working through anger, so thinking before you speak, um, things like how to join in and play with others, sharing and taking turns, and one that is called Be Polite and Kind, about listening and learning, understanding and caring about others, what to do when we face obstacles, how we can try to persevere, and how we can face fear, talking and working out problems that we have with friends, giving, being careful and staying safe. Just a ton of great topics for especially the preschool and kindergarten ages. Now, the text itself is not super detailed. It is very straightforward. There is no storyline within the text itself, though the pictures do depict a story. And I think that this is not, it doesn't feel dry, to me at least. It does not feel like it's bare bones, but it does feel extremely straightforward. So I recommend that series for the younger ages. There are other books from this same author as well as the same publishing company, Free Spirit Publishing, that you might also want to check out if you want to gather even more resources for training your children. The next resource is just a step above that. These books by Aliki are also some of my children's favorites. I am pairing two books here because they seem to go together super well. One is called Feelings by Aliki, and this explores the importance of feelings, why we feel certain ways, and what can cause us to feel certain ways. How our feelings can be affected by others' actions, and how we should care for other people. Then the second book is Manners by Aliki, and as the title says, this one is all about being polite and kind. One thing to note about these two books in particular is that they are kind of in a comic strip style. They can feel disjointed in that there are not chapters with rules of politeness in them, and you're gathering some observations from these like comic strips, from these illustrations, rather than having a straightforward rule applied to life. And so they're great discussion books, but they're not going to give you a rule for the week or something to focus on or a reason why you should do something. Instead, you as the parent and the child or student have to draw these out of the story. You have to learn some lesson from the story within the pictures, and you have to discuss how it's applied or why that is an important thing to remember in other situations. Okay, Now, two more books that are more appropriate for older ages. I have used both of these books with my kindergartner, and he does seem to grasp them. So I'm not going to say that they're off limits for younger kids, but I do think that you will get more out of them as your kids age. And the first book is Connoisseur Kids. Now, this book deserves a review video all its own, so I won't get into a ton of detail about it today, but here's a look inside. And here are some general observations about the book. Connoisseur Kids, like I said, it can be appropriate for, I would guess, kindergarten through middle elementary, even upper elementary in some ways. It covers a lot of topics, things like tidying your room, being polite, considerate toward others, setting the table. The author, Jennifer L. Scott, is famous for being very polite and a connoisseur of politeness and manners, and she has 4 children of her own, so I'm sure that that played a part in how she wrote this book. So each chapter, each section is a specific topic, and within that section there are various subtopics. So if the topic is the table, then you learn about manners at the table, how to set a table, how to make a beautiful bouquet and place settings for a table, and how to host guests at a table. All important topics. Then within those subtopics, there are exercises, games, specific assignments. And this is what I like about this book so much. It's very different from all of the other books on this list, is you have application. So if you're looking for something where your kids have to apply what you are learning immediately, then this is one I would go for. It is very straightforward. It's not going to have any stories or rhymes. There are rhymes. I take that back. There are some various rhymes throughout. If you want to memorize those with your kids, you can. They're really fun and short and easy to memorize. But there are a lot of practical things in here. Now, the last book on the list is a book that we got through one of our curriculum that we have used in our training of our children, and that is the Gentle and Classical curriculum. This book is it's feeling very Charlotte Mason and very classical education feeling. I'll explain what I mean. It does deserve a review video of its own, and so keep an eye on this channel, subscribe if you haven't yet, so that when that review comes out, you can see it. But Everyday Graces by Karen Santorum is a book that has a collection of literary studies in politeness. So there are short stories, a lot of poetry, and throughout this book there are different topics within the chapters, and there are explanations after some of the literary pieces. There are direct explanations of a lesson that you should learn through that story or poem. One thing to note about this book is that it's not going to give you a list of various manners, but it's going to give you more examples, negative examples and positive examples of how to live life. I do like this book. It's not my favorite from this entire list, but it is beautiful. And so if you are looking for a literary way to explore these topics, then this would be a good option. Now, with our Gentle and Classical program that we use, we have some specific applications of the topics within Everyday Graces. And here are 2 examples that we had this week. I take good care of my body and I bathe myself well. I do plan to make a review about Gentle and Classical preschool and primer sometime in the future, and I will try to link it below if I remember once that's made. But one thing that I'm kind of confused by with the Gentle and Classical using this book is you're able to pull things from it for younger ages, but it does seem appropriate for older kids. And so, like Connoisseur Kids, Everyday Graces, I would recommend for elementary ages. There's just a lot of vocabulary in the poetry and short stories that might be harder to grasp, and little children can understand the basic ideas you're gathering from the text. But I feel like there's a lot richer understanding as kids age, and that's true. And you can do multiple exposures to different books, but that's just my overall recommendation. So let me know if you have any questions in the comments. I love to discuss books and resources with you guys. And if you have not yet checked out my other videos about preschool, kindergarten resources, I will link some here. See you guys next time. Ciao.